Okay, so here we are. Today is the premiere of our series called Tertulia con Luis Castro. Bear in mind that we're going to be able to have some tertulias in English and other ones in Spanish. But what we're going to do, we're going to have some fun talking to some special guests. So while we wait for my guest tonight, I can already tell you that he's a very dear friend of mine. We've known each other for years now. He's a famous Nollywood actor. He's from Nigeria. Well, Nollywood is the Nigerian film industry, and he's known like that since pretty much the beginning of his existence at end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s, when the industry started developing originally in Nigeria, like in a very, very amateur way, until they managed to finally develop some important films around. And up to today, Nigerian actors have even come into industries like Hollywood, etc., even won Oscars. And and I can tell you right now that the Nollywood industry is one of the biggest industries in the film area around the world. So let's try to communicate with my friend Wale, and here he is finally.
All right.
Wale Ojo, what
Hello,
took you so
everybody.
long? Your
I
your
uh,
friend.
I'm a, I'm a technophobe.
Oh God, yeah. All your
Yeah.
fans are waiting here, man, and it's like you making them wait.
I apologize. I apologize to everybody.
How are you? How are you?
I'm very good. How are you? I
Yeah,
hope you
well,
can see
telling me
me all
like,
right.
yeah. Well, well, you told me you're in the Caribbean, but well, I guess that like we're not gonna display exactly where you are because it's a surprise. But how is it around there? Like, tell us first of all, how is the virus crisis affecting you so far?
I have to say, I was actually in the middle of filming. I was on my way to Zurich when I had to stop over in London because the movie that I was doing, suddenly got cancelled. So I then realized that COVID-19 is a very serious affair. So I took off. I don't know. I just had a sixth sense to leave London. So I left London for Miami.
Right. So you left
Yeah.
London from Miami, and then so
Uh-huh.
somehow you end up in the Caribbean. It's like
Oh, yes.
how is that fortunate so far, huh?
Well, when I got to Miami, I was actually, to be honest, I was on my way to Puerto Rico, and I
Right.
was told that I was going to be quarantined for 14 days in Puerto Rico.
All right.
So I didn't want that. So I got off at Miami. Then I had a friend of mine said, come over to the Caribbean, and here I am.
Fantastic. So, like, listen. So, have you been following what's happening? What's happening in Africa with the coronavirus crisis? Because obviously, your family, friends,
Yeah,
they're all in Nigeria. Apart from you, obviously have friends in London too. But like, so far, what
yeah.
have you heard from Africa about this crisis?
Well, I mean, so far it's been extremely well contained, We haven't like I mean in Nigeria they've I think 200 and something cases with about
Right.
25 recoveries and only 4 deaths. So that's quite an extraordinary statistic if you compare to France, which has about I think 64,000 cases and
Right.
over 6,000 deaths.
Yeah. Well, in general in Africa, the crisis is not hit so yet that harsh like in the rest
Yeah,
of the other continents. And
no, it
so
hasn't.
far, I was reading statistics and like I have them here with me right now. So far,
Yeah,
obviously, South Africa is the worst hit with about 1,500 cases, and
yeah,
but that's the worst in all Africa.
yeah, yeah.
When you
Yeah,
listen
South
to
Africa is the worst. Yeah,
but
yeah.
and the worst cases have been happening in South Africa, Morocco, in also Egypt, in
Egypt, yeah.
Algeria as well. And
Really?
those
Okay.
are
I
more.
didn't even know Algeria was.
Yeah. Algeria is the second worst actually after South
Right.
Africa. So
Okay.
my guess, I don't know, like you know your continent a lot more than you. These tend to
Hmm.
be the countries that are more touristic, aren't they? Like people tend to travel to these countries more.
Yeah. South Africa is the most visited country in Africa by foreigners. You know, so it's I think it's a huge problem for them. But you know, it's funny though. Nigeria is also the most visited next to South Africa, and we have a lot of Chinese visitors in Nigeria.
Right. Yeah,
We
there's a
have a
lot
lot
of
of
business going on. Yeah.
yeah, we have a lot of Chinese companies working there. You
Right.
know, so it's strange, you know.
Do
But
you what do you think about this myth that's been circulating around that that the virus cannot survive like extreme heat, and the second
yeah,
one that is also being discussed is whether like the virus is able to affect black people the same way it affects the rest of life. Well, I mean, this is a discussion. I'm not saying that it's a scientific discussion, but
yeah.
it's been on the table and people is been talking about.
Well, I think for one thing, I think the African man is blessed with a strong immunity. If you look at over the years, we've survived malaria. We're still surviving malaria, really. Influenza, Lassa fever, Ebola, tuberculosis. So I think when this hits the system, it builds up an immunity,
Right.
you know, and COVID-19, you can have it and be asymptomatic.
Yeah, correct, correct.
You
Yeah, I
know,
mean, like, yeah, these are all theories that are obviously not well funded and they're not really scientific.
yeah,
Like, but it's just it,
exactly.
but it is important to understand that it's good that somehow Africa has not been hit that hard because probably
No,
the health conditions, the health the hospitals, the clinics in Africa are obviously as not well as equipped as the one in probably
yeah,
Europe or other parts of the world. So it's good that
yeah,
so far
yeah,
the
yeah,
crisis has been contained.
yeah. But
But
having
so
said that, though, I would like to use this opportunity to condemn, uh, avowedly condemn two French doctors. In fact, I have the names here. One is Jean-Paul Mira, who's the head of the intensive care unit at the Cochin Hospital in Paris, and Camille Lott, who is the research director of the France's National Health Institute. And they said on a live program, I think 2 or 3 nights ago, that they would not mind testing a new vaccine on Africans, which I
Well,
think is
because
just the
like
most.
Africans are some sort of like like guinea pigs or something
Are
for
we? Are we? Are we?
testing.
Yeah. Are we lab? Exactly. Are we lab rats all of a sudden? So I would like to totally condemn that statement, together with my fellow celebrities, especially the footballers Didier Drogba and Samuel Eto'o, who tweeted against that, you know. And there was a whole
Right.
barrage of tweets against these people.
Well, listen, what I know, like, well, we all know that we are in the middle of a crisis, and I'm sure that neither you or me are experts or I don't know, or medicals or doctors of any kind. So,
Yeah,
like, what we can do is like do what we do, which is like talk about the entertainment business and talk
of
about
course.
your work because obviously you've been very active on Netflix recently. Well, you haven't been active because this series has been going on for a while. We all know that. But the Meet
Yes.
the Adebanjos been hitting Netflix recently. Now
Yeah.
you're getting in, and now in these times of quarantine, watching the Adebanjos must be a must to do. Like, why don't you tell our friends, especially the Latin Americans that are listening to us, who are the Adebanjos and what's going on there?
Yeah, well, basically, it's very popular right now on Netflix, and I will really get everyone to watch it. It's being translated in several languages, including Spanish and Portuguese. And yes, just go onto Netflix and binge watch. You can binge watch Meet the Adebanjos. Once you put Meet the, it should come up, and then you should see my ugly face in it somewhere.
Well, yeah, just in case somebody has problems like spelling out the banjo, yeah,
Yeah,
start with
exactly.
meet the.
I have a feeling they might go at day what's that? What?
But what is making the Adebanjos and so special? Why is it so different to anything we've seen so far?
Because it's like I think people really relate to it. You know, it's different from a show like the Cosby Show or the Fresh Prince of Bel Air or all those other shows. It's different. I mean, it's like a lot of people can relate to the fact that there's this family and there's this guy who's trying to bring up his kids in a traditional way, and he's sometimes he fails miserably and sometimes he does a great job, and he always does it with a tongue in cheek, and he's very, very funny.
Yeah, so getting back to Nollywood, and I was trying to
Yeah,
explain our audiences that since I met you and we started like developing this project, this documentary project on Planet Nollywood,
yeah,
me personally, I started to learn how the Nollywood industry brought Africans as they really are, not like
yeah,
the way that Hollywood always portrayed them. So how can you
exactly.
explain this a little bit more?
Well, it's like, there's a certain kind of rawness that an African character brings to a story that you cannot really get anywhere else, and it's something that you have to have lived it, you have to have experienced it. Even by the time you break into the accent, it's very, very funny. Right now, I'm doing a kind of an Adebanjo character who lands in Los Angeles, you know and then you start to
Right.
see all the cultural differences, and people just love it because they're not used to it, they haven't seen it before, and then you make it funny and you make it accessible, and it's great.
I think you have talked to me before about your
Yeah.
idea of engaging Latin American audiences into Nollywood, into
Yes.
understanding. And I think this is going to be an interesting cultural sort of like experience for Latin Americans
Yeah.
to see something else different from the typical Hollywood films and crime and the
Exactly.
CIA and drugs. So like
And yes.
so how do you see yourself into this sort of like idea of like engaging with Latin America and like maybe I don't know going to places like Cuba, for instance, that has a very strong African influence.
Very, very, very strong. I think it's going to be hilarious. I mean, right now I have a YouTube show that I'm doing for my Nigerian fans called Quarantine from Korokoro, which is
All right.
basically saying quarantine from coronavirus, using broken English. And I show it to a few Spanish people here, and they don't even speak English, and they think it's hilarious. They're just, they're
There,
falling apart. And I know by the time they now watch Adebanjos in Cuba, in Latin America, I know they're gonna love it. I know they're gonna love it.
yeah, in fact, well, you know the having chats with some people that they saw for
Mm.
example the Meet the Adebanjos, and obviously the first seasons, and I know the story because I also got to know Andrew, the producer, thanks to you once in London, and like
Okay.
and I know the Meet the Adebanjos obviously started like a very independent project and it was like in a very very low budget, so you guys managed to sort of like get the studio and get the series out. But as it progresses
Hmm.
into season 2 and season 3, you can see the difference, you can see the change. and
Yeah, it's
uh
huge. Yeah,
and
yeah.
and I don't know if you want to give the spoiler or something, but something hopefully will be going on.
Well, I mean, definitely. Look, Louis, when we started in a very tiny studio somewhere in South London. I think it was near Stockwell or somewhere. And it was very cold. The studio wasn't warm. Everybody was on a budget. It was hard. And then season two got better, and season three took off. Now, because the series is very popular, we're now in discussions for a season four, and that's going to be very, very different.
Well, that,
The Adebanjos will have moved a bit up market. We're going to have a lot of stars coming into the show from Nigeria and outside of Nigeria. We want to move into Latin America. We want to move into the telenovela territory.
right. Well,
We're
that's gonna
hoping
be
to buy.
that's gonna be definitely an interesting match. It's like the typical telenovela
Yes,
actress in Nigeria.
exactly. Yes. Adebanjo meets Maria Marapula and or something.
Are you sure that that combination is not gonna be even worse than this crisis? You know what I mean? Eh.
Yes.
So well, listen, Wale,
Mhm.
because obviously I'm trying to make this a space like short for you guys and all that, but like I didn't want to go
Sure.
without talking about also not only the Adebanjos, because you're obviously an experienced actor that's done several films, and
Yeah.
you also started like a movement called the New Nigerian Cinema a while ago. So
Yes.
how that was meant to give also Nollywood a different perspective. I don't want to call it
Yeah.
professional, but a little bit more, I don't know, like more produced product. is what you were looking for.
Yeah. Well, I think new Nigerian cinema has come of age. I mean, if you look at all the films coming out of Nollywood now, and if you compare it to the 90s, there's a vast difference. Huge difference. One of the things that I've achieved with new Nigerian cinema is to get not only Nigerian films but African films showing every month in a program called African Odysseys at the British Film Institute. That's I'm actually on a steering committee that brings films, African films, both from the past, the present, into the British Film Institute, and we also have a new Nigerian Cinema Day at the BFI as well. So we've come leaps and bounds really in the past 10 years or so.
Yeah, that's about right. So it's like this project that you were saying that you were traveling around Zurich, ended up in London, and well, somehow
Yeah.
magically ended up in the Caribbean. Like what is
Yes.
it
Yes.
about?
Well, actually, that one is actually a Hollywood project.
Right.
And basically, I'm under contract not to reveal what it is, but I'll give you a little clue. It's actually a huge sci-fi project.
Right. Well, you're not doing a
Yeah,
new version
that's.
of Star Wars, aren't you?
Well, it's close.
I'm very, oh, please, no, another Star Wars. I think that one is like
Yeah. But
gone out of the wind.
It's definitely not Star Wars, but it is sci-fi. It is extremely exciting project to be on. It's got a huge cast. It's a huge production, and I think people are gonna love it. They're really gonna love it.
Right. Yeah, briefly, like
Yeah.
yeah, because I wanted to ask you. You also spent some time in LA, sort of like digging into
Yeah.
the Hollywood industry for a while. So how did that work out?
Yeah. No, well, it worked out fine. I have an agent who's based in LA, and in fact, my agent's main headquarters is in Los Angeles. So they were very happy to have me in LA and have me go up for meetings and and talk to people. And the good thing about my agent there is that they also understand that I have a passion for new Nigeria cinema. I have my own production company. I'm also trying to initiate a lot of projects. So we try and work together on that. So yeah, they're very, very good in that respect.
Fantastic. Well, Mr. Ojo, it's always a big, huge pleasure for me to talk to you. It's like every single time we manage to hang out somewhere in, I don't know, in London,
I think
even here in Spain.
Last time, well, yeah, I was in Spain, was in Barcelona.
Right. You need to come around when this crisis is finished. Obviously, definitely, because Spain is not exactly a touristic destination right now.
Exactly,
Unfortunately,
not at the moment. Now, I would.
So we'll wait for that to meet you again. So
yes.
Wale, all the best as always. Thank you very much for this precious
Thank you
time
very
of
much,
yours.
Louis.
And well, I hope that you can obviously get out of whatever you are right now. That we don't want to tell your followers so they don't get to know where in Bora Bora you are, or Koro Koro. Is it Koro Koro?
Bora Bora, Koro Koro.
Yeah.
Quarantine from Koro Koro. Quarantine from Koro Koro.
Well, the only thing that we can reveal so far, it seems like obviously, like the people that you're with hanging out, they all speak Spanish. So it's like we're giving that clue. Exactly. It's a Spanish-speaking country.
I'll give you just a little quick tour, and you have the pool, and we have the. I don't know if you can see that.
Well, that's a very interesting, nice way to spend the quarantine. Definitely.
Exactly.
It's much better than me, that I'm locked up in this office space of mine in here. Well, there you go, with the African continent right behind me, by the way.
Yes, I see that. No, I've been admiring that.
Yeah. Now, that has not been there intentional. It's always been there. It's just that I've got all the maps all around the office so far.
Louis, you're an African at heart, and I cannot wait to invite you to Nigeria, where we will make you a chief in Ile-Ife.
Yeah, because last time the time that I went to Nigeria, you were not even there. You were in London, so we didn't manage to hang out in Lagos.
I got to be in Lagos when you're there, my brother.
Yeah, definitely. Wale Ojo, my friend, thank you very much. This is one of the biggest Nigerian actors around. I have the privilege of calling my friend too, and I let him say goodbye to all of you right now.
Thank you all very much. And I want to implore you all, keep watching Louis Castro TV on YouTube. Louis, thank you. Always a pleasure talking with you, my friend. Fans,
Thank
colleagues,
you.
don't forget, watch Meet the Adebanjos on YouTube. Enjoy and stay safe. Keep healthy, wash your hands, and practice social distancing. God bless you all.
Fantastic.
Good night.
That is the best advice that we can get. Yeah, remember, stay at home. This is the best you can do right now to help the planet, the people around you. I know that there are a lot of things that have been said about the economy and all that, but the most important is our health. So it doesn't matter how hard it can get financially later. We're gonna be grateful if we can stop this pandemic to spread around. This has been Wale Ojo, directly from the Caribbean. I'm not gonna disclose where he is. I know where he is, but I'm not gonna tell you. And please watch out all my social media. They're all like Luis Castro TV. You can watch this video on YouTube. Soon it's gonna be posted on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, even on LinkedIn. And you can also watch it on Wale Ojo's YouTube channel very soon. Remember, we're going to be doing this series every single day with different guests from different topics.